Hello and welcome to the Big Picture with me, Frank Pereira. Rajya Sabha today witnessed a fierce debate on the recent note ban imposed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Congress leader Anand Sharma led the opposition's charge, asking the centre why were all Indians being criminalised by the move. 86% of the currency in the markets were 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. They were scrapped by just one announcement. Was it all black? Sharma asked the House. Now, the BJP hit back at the Congress for criticising demonetisation and said that despite facing hardships, the common man in India was lauding the government's surgical strike against black money. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyse the debate in Parliament today on the demonetisation issue. Joining me on the programme today are Professor N.R. Bhanumurthy, Member, National Institute of Public Finance and Policy, T.K. Arun, Editor Opinion, Economic Times, Professor Rajeev Gowda, National Spokesperson of the Congress and Rajya Sabha MP, and also with us on the program today is Gopal Krishna Agarwal, National Spokesperson of the BJP. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being with us on the program today. Professor Gowda, I'd like to start with you, of course, and ask you, the government has, said that the Congress is just creating an issue out of nothing, and the Congress is, in principle, not okay with the idea of demonetisation.
I think the BJP is entirely wrong with this kind of an assessment. Black money is a real problem, but we have to go after the sources of black money, where the demand and supply of black money meet and what that market is. Instead, mostly I think to create some kind of a PR stunt here at the cost of the common man, at the cost of the poor and rural India, the Prime Minister, unable to stomach the fact that he has not been able to fulfill that whole promise of bringing back 15 lakhs to each person from abroad, he has embarked on this very Tughlakian initiative to demonetize notes. Now, the basic point is, you can see that it is an ill-advised move and an ill-executed move. We are seeing that across the country. And I want to ask you, on what basis? See, we have no problems with demonetization if there is a particular logic to it and if it achieves a set of goals. What is this going to achieve? It is going to burn down the house to kill a bedbug.
Be patient is what the Prime Minister is saying. Give him 50 days. Venkaiah Naidu on the floor of the House went on to say the Congress has been in power for 50 years. You couldn't do anything. Give us 50 days. Be patient and give us 50 days. And we'll show you what we can do.
See, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu is very flowery in his language. And he keeps, I heard his speech just now, and he was talking about how anyone who is opposed to this is on the side of the hoarder and the black marketer. That is not the case. Every single person standing in the queue there, every common person who is losing business because money and cash transactions have dried up. The people we really want to help in this country are the ones who have taken that initiative to become a peddler of goods, to go out there and work in the cash economy. And we are just pushing them all into misery. Okay. We are driving them below the poverty line again. And the biggest impact, as an economist, I will tell you, is that you're slowing down the economy. Just when we were an economy that on the basis of internal consumption was going to grow and outpace the rest of the world, you have put a huge stop to that economic growth, and that pains me very, very, very much.
I'm going to take what you're saying to Professor Bhanumurthy and talk about, the timing of the issue. The Congress is saying time and again that it's very ill-timed. This particular move is ill-timed, and it's going to hurt the economy in the long run. It's going to hurt the people of the nation.
Well, I think I partially agree with all the politicians who are talking about this. Yes, they are agreeing that black money is a major issue and there is no opposition for the demonetization. And can we ask something, that if there is no surprise component in this decision, do you think this kind of policy measures will really help in the long term? I think that is something people are missing out of it. Yes, there is a surprise element, definitely there is. I'm not really sure it is ill-advised, but I guess half of the part of what Professor Gowda said is ill-implemented. I think that part everybody agree with that. I think it's very important for us to see that how we are going to transit all those, the old notes to new notes. Here, I thought the government slightly messed up by not understanding the technology part of it. We know that the new notes are not compatible with the ATMs that we have, and also they suddenly stopped the 1,000 rupee notes. I think right now, even if you have 2,000 rupee note, there is a new 2,000 rupee note, there is nobody to take it. So I think there are two issues, I think, where the government has slightly mismanaged. One is that compatibility issue with the ATMs, as well as doing away with the 1,000 rupee note. And the other side, as Professor Gowda pointed out, yes, there is a there is going to be impact on the growth. There's nobody saying that it's going to have a positive impact on the growth in the current year. But as a student of monetary economics, I'm sure Professor Gowda would agree with me, in the long term or a medium term to long term, we are going to see a much better growth than what we would have seen if there is no demonetization.
Look at the big pictures, what you're saying,
and
and
the
big
long-term
pictures,
picture.
Yes.
And again, we need to see that we talk so much about the poor, but if you can have a situation where the inflation is coming down at a stable level, and we are going to see a long-term growth, I guess that is the most pro-poor policy for the long term. We have spoken about the poor for almost 65 years, and I know, I think it's time for the politician to stop about talking about the poor and do something which can increase the growth and also increase, I mean, the Congress has come out with a point of inclusive growth. I guess this policy is much more inclusive growth than what we have seen in the past 15-20 years.
TK Arun, would you agree with that assessment? Would you say that, in the long term, it is definitely going to help the economy, or do you think that this particular move is going to come back and haunt the BJP later?
I think it will. I think the latter is right.
Okay.
See, I think this is primarily a political move to project Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, and his party as champions of the poor who are waging a battle against the rich, the dirty hoarders, black marketeers, tax evaders who are harming society. We are taking them on. In order to convey this message, this tough measure has been taken. I think it is conceptually flawed. It plays on the assumption that people at large don't understand the difference between stocks and flows. They see black money as a stash that is kept somewhere, whereas that's not the case. If you say estimates of the black economy in India vary from 20% to 40% of GDP, or could be even higher. Nobody knows. Now, currency is only 12% of GDP.
Yes.
So, if all black money were just stashed away currency, only a portion of that can be stashed away. Obviously, that is not black money, right? So, money has to be in circulation for it to be create economic activity, and a lot of economic activity evades tax, and that is actually black money. It is in real estate, it is in lending to small and medium enterprises, it is in running schools and colleges, it's in various kinds of activities, in gold business. It is generating income, providing employment, it is part of the economy. It is not a stash that is kept away, which will become worthless as soon as demonetization takes place. My feeling is that the economic activity part, the money that is in circulation, will not be affected by this, because it will only do away with some part of the stash. My other worry is that most of the money will be, in any case, be recycled. Is that a large part of all the black money that stays as a stash will be captured and destroyed by this measure. People successfully find ways of laundering this. If you are kept good relations with God, His temple trust will help you recycle this money. There are NGOs which do this. There are companies that show cash on the books, but actually don't have cash. They will take money from those who want to convert their black money into white and give them, now they actually have cash. Then they'll give them a loan and eventually let out the loan. So there are various ways in which people can actually convert black money into white, and they will do that. India has, crores and crores of people who can line up in front of
But the BJP's defense has been that this is just one of the many steps that they're going to take as well. And the Prime Minister himself has said that this is just the start. This is just the beginning. There are going to be several such measures in the near future.
Yeah.
I'm going to take what both you and Professor Gowda are saying to our BJP spokesperson right now. Mr. Agarwal, as far as what Professor Gowda and Mr. TK Arun are saying, they're saying that it is a political move and it is also a move that has not been very well thought of.
No, actually, it is a political move. If you say that, then if you are the BJP is there in the politics and the Prime Minister is there to govern, and there is no harm that if it is a politically correct, if some move which is politically correct, that means that the people have accepted it. In a democracy, if we get the support of the people, then that's a good thing. And ultimately, if you only say that it's a message without a content will not be successful. With this background, I say that, as you have mentioned, that this is not the isolated move. But there are several other areas have also already been covered by the Prime Minister, and further more areas will be covered, which will encompass the whole corruption scenario in the country and try to curb it and reduce it. This demonetization is only to curb the black money in circulation in liquid cash currency. And I agree with Mr. Arun when Mr. Bhanu, when he said that there has been some apprehension that when the liquidity is reduced, it will lead to a reduction in the economic activity. But I tell you that once this gap of deposit and the currency in circulation at the present will come to the government, we will have government will have additional resources in the form of taxes, which the income will be declared in the current year also, and in a form of additional currency which the gap will be filled through RBI. So that will be an additional resources with the government to spend in infrastructure, to capitalize various PSUs, and even with the banks there will be large amount of cash where where the cost of funds through them in the CASA, where saving deposits and the current account deposits will increase, the cost of fund to the banking sector will also come down, in itself will help in reduction in the interest rates, pressure on the interest rates. So I think economically also this is a very sound step. For curbing black money and corruption is also a sound step. And we also agree that there has been some hardship to common man, which we have seen in various reports. Government is working overnight to sort them out. These hardships, as Venkaiah Naidu today told, that these are pains of the labor pains when a new life is born. So these kind of issues, these slight pains for some time, we agree. We are trying to, the government and we are all trying, even the party is trying to sort them out. Okay. Government is continuously monitoring them, and these are the things which are part of the process also. And okay. If there has been some criticism on that, the suddenness, that's the important thing. If it was not sudden, then the black money issue in circulation would have not been able to, government would not have been able to curb that. So I think all in overall picture, right, this will help in reduction in black money.
Point taken. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that to Professor Gowda.
Economic growth will also be yes, yeah.
Okay, Professor Gowda, don't have to worry too much. The government has thought of all these things. The government is doing something right, and eventually you have to look at the bigger picture. That's what and the BJP is saying time and again. Even the Prime Minister has said that the people of the nation are with us. We've gone out onto the streets and they have said that they are willing to go through this pain, looking at the larger picture.
I think people have been seeing too many social media forwards from BJP propagandists. If you go talk to people dying in queues, people are not able to fulfill basic needs, and who are seeing their children die because nobody is accepting the banknotes. They are not accepting those deaths for the larger cause. They are saying, what the hell is this Modi bin Tughlaq government doing to us? All right. The basic problem is that no problem with element of surprise. You just have to very quietly make sure that the new bills will also fit, that there is enough printed currency to replace what is out there.
The BJP is conceding that those issues are there, and they are rectifying those issues, and they are trying to ensure that it is done at the earliest. Yeah,
but I don't think that painful period that people are going through, I think that is going to break a lot of people's backs. A lot of firms, small firms, are going to collapse. People are going to be fired because there's not enough earnings for companies to keep them or shops to retain them. So the impact on the poorest of the poor, right? I don't want to make that some slogan here. I'm talking about reality here. Okay, call it socio-economic category, whatever it is, right? If you want to use a different term. But basically, the most vulnerable are going to be affected by this. Now, the longer term issues, which Bhanumurthy is flagging, which Mr. Agarwal is flagging, are about what is the longer term impact. Inflation is going to come down, interest rates are going to come down. Interest rates come down, then deposit interest rates will also come down. Savings will also, people will look for alternative methods, right? So this is not a simple this way, that way kind of a situation. It's a complex macroeconomy, and at the current pain, to go through all this pain and dislocation and disruption for something that you cannot prove, How much black money are you eliminating with this? Very little, absolutely, and you're only hurting those who are large parts of the cash economy.
Shouldn't the government have done this then? Are you saying that the government shouldn't have done this and looked at some other measures
Frank,
maybe
one
and not
There
this
are
at this
very
time?
brief
probably
question.
5 different measures to attack black money. And many of them require much greater scrutiny in terms of how we have lots of institutions in this country which are
Right.
regulatory, taxation, all of them, and they don't necessarily work together. And for example, even if you look at politicians filing the election affidavits, you look at what they declare there and look at what they declare for the income tax. Has anyone ever matched them? Similarly, if you want to go after the hoarder, the person under invoicing, whatever, there are other methods.
Okay.
For that, data,
I think Mr. Agarwal is
technology, all of
countering
those
you.
are well prepared. You need
let
to
me
have
take
the
his point
political
of view
will
also and
to
get my
do
other
something
guests
like
into
that.
the
Brief-
picture.
brief
Yeah, go ahead.
comment.
Go ahead.
One brief comment is that this several issues I had flagged up. There are 2-3 more issues that this will tackle the supply side of the black money in the election also and help in the election reforms also. Then second is housing sector, which is for the common man, where the prices of the housing sector will become affordable, and that will help the common man. And even with regard the resources with the government, ultimately how the common man is benefited, he is benefited when there are large amount of resources with the government for investment into infrastructure or to various other schemes of the government. I think government will have a very large resources after the whole process is completed. What is not clear is whether Congress, position of Congress is not clear, whether they support monetization and only are having some reservation with regard to problems being faced by the common man. Then we are with them. We know that common man is facing some problems. We will appraise,
Okay.
we will
Fine.
take
Fair
care
enough.
of them.
Fair enough.
That is a
Do you want to
short-term
quickly
measure. But
respond to that quickly?
monetization
Are
is
you for
Congress with us.
demonetization or no? You're against demonetization?
If the purpose of demonetization is to
Professor Gowda, I
eliminate
have to
black
get the others
money,
in also. Yes or no? Yes or no?
if the purpose is to eliminate black money, it's probably not going to achieve that goal. It's a very, very limited measure.
Okay, okay, fine. Professor Bhanumurthy, now let's talk about this thing of 50 days. The BJP government has said, and the Prime Minister himself has said that give me 50 days and we'll ensure that everything comes back on track. Several people in Parliament today debated and said that in 50 days nothing is going to change. It's going to take 4 or 5 months for things to come to track and things to normalize. Would you agree with that assessment? Is it going to take that long?
It's too early to say whether that assessment is right or wrong, but I hope that by 50 days things are settled. Right now we know what are the problems are, and at least in the whole picture, my worry is that the one big institution, which is central bank, that should have been at the forefront. So I'm not really sure that how far they have been involved in this process. We don't see communication from, I don't know for what reason, we have seen very, very less communication from the central bank. Otherwise, this is the institution which should have been in forefront to manage this transition from old to new. So given all these things, I mean, whatever the news items, I see that, within 1 week, we'll see that some kind of recalibration of ATMs. If that happens, I think we will be able to achieve this within the 50 days, but still there will be some pain. I mean, nobody is saying that there is not going to be any pain. And in terms of inflation, just for Professor Rajeev Gowda, I don't want to bring this dosa economics back, but I think if you look at where in this country, one of the fastest growing economy in the world, where we have the tax GDP ratio is less than 10%, we have seen only 4% of people paying income tax. Are we saying 96% people are poor? Or if you look at the income declaration scheme that we have come out, we just could manage only less than 0.5% of GDP. So what else the government can do? Isn't it a desperate act by the central government, which has come on the plank of removing corruption? So I think it is, I think it is justifiable from the government side.
Okay, it's justifiable from the government side. TK Arun, I can see a smile on your face. You don't agree with that at all, do you?
If you are serious about fighting black money, you would begin by cleaning up your own party's funding.
Yeah, that comes next,
Indian parties, Congress, BJP, any party, the vast majority of their funding is off the books. They show 500 crore rupees in the case of Congress, 220 crore in the case of the BJP as their annual income. They will spend that in one election. In Punjab, they spend 20 crore in one constituency. And you want us to believe that this is the entire income. The bulk of their money is off the books. It is black money. If you are serious about combating black money, you would begin by accepting all your income by check and by declaring it openly. You are not doing that. 2, why didn't you wait for the currency notes to be printed? Why didn't you wait for the payment banks that you are licensed, the Mudra Bank, good things, small banks, local area banks, all these banks to start functioning to allow a cashless economy to be more viable? You have created the infrastructure. The National Payment Corporation of India has done a great job allowing electronic banking to spread throughout the country. Why don't you allow its full functionality to be utilized by first waiting for this to be open?
Including the Indian Post Office.
Post Office. Now, the real anti-corruption, anti-black money moves that are offering are actually the GST. If you implement the GST properly, it will be difficult to evade tax. If you have notified the Benami Act finally after passing it in 1988, if you do that, you will actually crack down on black money. You have to tackle black money first by looking at generation and not trying to focusing on these kind of measures, which will actually target only a small part of the stash.
No shock and no measures.
And about people supporting it. The people of India are very patient. They are willing to suffer if they believe the government is acting in good faith. Right now, because of the extremely effective communication of the Prime Minister, people are willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. They are, to my opinion, to a large extent, standing in the queue and cursing the banker, the bania, the hoarder, but not the Prime Minister. They are giving the benefit of the doubt. But the question is this actually being done in good faith? Is it actually going to achieve the stated purpose of tackling black money? I think it is not. And therefore, this is a completely wasted thing. And it will actually affect economic growth. Small businesses that cannot actually sustain without being cash, their buyers are not there because they don't have cash.
Indeed.
Their suppliers are not being able to be paid because there is no cash, and they will just collapse. If companies collapse and they fail to survive, then it will be long-term pain.
Indeed. Professor Bhanumurthy, what happens to microfinance institutions? What happens to the informal sector now?
See, in any case, they are not part of the formal financial markets. My guess is that yes, the cash, because of the, the cash, moving outside the system, they would face some kind of disturbance. I am not saying that they are not going to face. Even the banking sector would face the disturbance. Some of the banking sector. So, like Bandhan Bank said that they are not going to give microcredit. Yes, there are issues. I am not denying that. But I think. So let's wait and see for next 50 days what happens, and then see we can take stock of it.
Okay,
yeah.
we'll use a wait and watch approach. But before I end the show, I want to get final comments from Gopal Krishna Agarwal and then from Professor Gowda as well. Gopal Krishna Agarwal, go ahead. Final comments from you because I've just got 2 minutes left on the program.
Yeah, there were 2-3 important issues raised. I want to comment on them. One thing is RBI is very well involved. Yesterday they had come out with several clarification, including waiver after 8 transaction charges and ATM and other clarification. So RBI is fully conversant and looking, coordinating with the banks for availability of cash and other transactions. So RBI is there. Second thing is that, as I mentioned, that the problem earlier, all the election commission was tackling the expenditure, controlling the black money circulation in the election process through control of the expenditure. This is first time where the supply side will be tackled. So therefore, this will be a major step. Third, I want to mention is that this demonetization only tackles the black money in the circulation
Fair
in
enough.
the current scenario. It doesn't tackle the generation. So that there are several other steps that are being taken, and ultimately this is a pro-rich, pro-poor action which the government is taking.
Sure.
This we
Professor
request
Gowda,
all
final comments from you because I've just got 30 seconds of the program. In 30 seconds, wrap the show for us.
I think this program is a miserable failure. I would like to see the government make amends, push for state funding and other measures to clean up election funding and to create a level playing field for large numbers of decent people to enter and participate in the political process. That is a very different story, but this is a monumental blunder on the part of Narendra Modi, Arun Jaitley and the entire BJP,
Okay. And the
looking
BJP
for
is
short gains.
The BJP has said the people will decide and the people will let everyone know in 2019 whether it was a blunder or not. I'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture on that note. Professor N.R. Bhanumurthy, T.K. Arun, Professor Rajeev Gowda and Gopal Krishna Agarwal. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's all the time we have. Thank you so much for watching.